Lorien was a maker of visions and of dreams, and his gardens in the land of the gods were the fairest of all places in the world, and filled with many spirits of beauty and power. Today, we narrate the history of the Gardens of Lórien. The Gardens of Lórien is a realm that is created by the Valar during the days before days after Melkor, the first Dark Lord, destroys the two lamps, Illuin and Tormal, and they retreat to the land that will later be known as Valinor. This realm becomes the home of the Valar, Irmo and Estë, and is also governed by them. Irmo is strongly associated with his gardens, and for this reason he is more commonly known as Lórien. The Fëanor, Masters of Spirits, are brethren, and they are called most often Mandos and Lórien, yet these are rightly the names of the places of their dwelling, and their true names are Namo and Irmo. Lórien is Quenya, and it contains the element Olos, which means dream, slumber, or vision. In the Silmarillion, the Gardens of Lórien are described as the fairest place in the world. Irmo, the younger, is the master of visions and dreams. In Lórien are his gardens, in the land of the Valar, and they are the fairest of all places in the world, filled with many spirits. Estë the gentle, healer of hurts and of weariness, is his spouse. Grey is her raiment, and rest is her gift. She walks not by day, but sleeps upon an island in the tree-shadowed lake of Lórien. From the fountains of Irmo and Estë, all those who dwell in Valinor draw refreshment, and often the Valar come themselves to Lórien, and there find repose and easing of the burden of Arda. Another description of the gardens of the Vala Irmo comes in earlier writings of Tolkien, in the pages of the first part of the Book of Lost Tales. Lórien too dwelt far away, and his hall was great and dimly lit, and had wide gardens. The place of his dwelling he called Murmuran, which Aule made of mists, gathered beyond Arvalin, upon the shadowy seas. 'Twas set in the south by the feet of the mountains of Valinor, upon the confines of the realm, but its gardens wandered marvelously about, winding nigh to the feet of Silpion, whose shining led them strangely. They were full of labyrinths and mazes, for Palurien had given Lórien great wealth of yew trees and cedars, and of pines that exuded drowsy odors in the dusk, and these hung over deep pools. Glowworms crept about their borders, and Arda had set stars within their depths for the pleasure of Lórien. But his sprite sang wonderfully in these gardens, and the scent of night flowers and the songs of sleepy nightingales filled them with great loveliness. There too grew the poppies glowing redly in the dusk, and those the gods called Fumelar, the flowers of sleep, and Lórien used them much in his enchantments. Amidmost of those pleasances was set within a ring of shadowy cypress, towering high, that deep vat Cylindrin. There it lay in a bed of pearls, and its surface, unbroken, was shot with silver flickerings, and the shadows of the trees lay on it, and the mountains of Valinor could see their faces mirrored there. In these early texts, we also learn from Christopher Tolkien that his father often calls the gardens by the noun pleasance, a pleasure garden, and that the spirits of the Gardens of Lórien dance in Valinor with gentle feet, releasing evening scents. In this beautiful place, many well-known Maiar are said to dwell with Irmo and Estë. Melian, the mother of Lúthien Tinúviel and foremother of Elrond himself, sings often in the gardens. Melian was a Maiar of the race of the Valar. She dwelt in the Gardens of Lórien, and among all his people there were none more beautiful than Melian, nor more wise, nor more skilled in songs of enchantment. It is told that the Valar would leave their works, and the birds of Valinor their mirth, that the bells of Valmar were silent, and the fountains ceased to flow, when at the mingling of the lights Melian sang in Lórien. Nightingales went always with her, and she taught them their song, and she loved the deep shadows of the great trees. She was akin before the world was made to Yavanna herself, and in that time, when the Quendi awoke beside the waters of Cuiviénen, she departed from Valinor and came to the Heathen lands, and there she filled the silence of Middle-earth before the dawn with her voice and the voices of her birds. During her stay in Valinor, Melian serves under both Estë and Vanna. Before she departs from the Blessed Realm, she dwells long in the Gardens of Lórien, tending the trees that flower there. Apart from Melian the Maiar, another spirit visits the gardens often, a Maiar who will much later come to Middle-earth in the aid of the elves and men. This is none other than Gandalf, who during his days in Valinor is known as Olórin. Wisest of the Maiar was Olórin. He too dwelt in Lórien, but his ways took him often to the house of Nienna, and of her he learned pity and patience. Another Maiar said to abide in the dwelling place of the Vala Irmo is Tilion, the spirit who will later become the steersman of the moon. Tilion was a young hunter of the company of foremother, and he had a silver bow. He was a lover of silver, and when he would rest he forsook the woods of foremother, and went unto Lórien, and lay a dream by the pools of Estë in the flickering beams of Telperion. In 1169 of the Years of the Trees, Fëanor, the son of King Finwë and Queen Míriel, is born. But in the bearing of her son, Míriel is consumed in spirit and body, as the strength that would have nourished the life of many children goes forth into Fëanor. Therefore she desires to be released from the labor of living. Then Manwë granted the prayer of Míriel, and she went to Lórien and laid her down to sleep upon a bed of flowers beneath a silver tree. And there her fair body remained unwithered in the keeping of the maidens of Estë. But though she seemed to sleep, her spirit indeed departed from her body, and passed in silence to the halls of Mandos. Finwë, Míriel's husband, visits her often in the Gardens of Lórien. Finwë lived in sorrow, and he went often to the Gardens of Lórien, and sitting beneath the silver willows beside the body of his wife, he called her by her names, but it was of no avail, and Finwë alone in all the Blessed Realm was bereaved of joy. After a while he went to Lórien no more, for it increased his grief to see the fair form of Míriel that would not hear his call. Many events occur before Míriel is finally released from the halls of Mandos and returns to her body in the Gardens of Lórien. Then the Fae of Míriel was released and came before Manwë and received his blessing, and she went then to Lórien and re-entered her body, and awoke again as one that cometh out of a deep sleep, and she arose, and her body was refreshed. But after she had stood in the twilight of Lórien a long while in thought, remembering her former life and all the tidings that she had learned, her heart was still sad, and she had no desire to return to her own people. Therefore she went to the doors of the house of Vaire and prayed to be admitted, and this prayer was granted, although in that house none of the living dwelt, nor have others ever entered it in the body. It is worth noting that in the tale of Tinúviel, the earliest version of the tale of Beren and Lúthien, in order to put Morgoth to sleep, Lúthien sings before him a song which used to be sung in the Gardens of Lórien. Then began Tinúviel to dance a yet swifter dance before his eyes, and even as she danced, she sang in a voice very low and wonderful, a song which Melian had taught her long ago, a song that the youths and maidens sang beneath the cypresses of the Gardens of Lórien, when the tree of gold had waned and Telperion was gleaming. The voices of nightingales were in it, and many sad lauders seemed to fill the air of that noisome place, as it rolled the floor lightly as a feather in the wind. Nor has any voice or sight of such beauty ever again been seen there. And Tainu Melkor, for all his power and majesty, succumbed to the magic of that elf-maid, and indeed, even the islets of Lórien had grown heavy had he been there to see. In 503 of the First Age, King Thingol of Doriath is killed in his realm, and Queen Melian, his wife, having left Valinor for millennia, vanishes out of Middle-earth and returns to the Gardens of Lórien again, beyond the Western Sea, from whence she had come long ago, and she muses upon her sorrows. The name Lorien appears again during the Third Age of Middle-earth, when Galadriel and Celeborn become the rulers of the Golden Wood. Galadriel, perhaps being inspired by the dwelling place of the Valar, Irmo and Estë, renames Lorinan to Lórien. Lórien is probably an alteration of an older name now lost. It is actually the Quenya name of a region in Valinor, often also used as a name of the Vala to whom it belonged. It was a place of rest and shadowy trees and fountains, a retreat from cares and griefs. The further change from Lorinand, Valley of Gold, to Lórien may well be due to Galadriel herself, for the resemblance cannot be accidental, as may be seen generally, and especially in her song. She had endeavored to make Lórien a refuge and an island of peace and beauty, a memorial of ancient days. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one on My Govanen. Namarie.